Well, welcome to the draft. Glad to have you all with us. I am Greg Mathern, standing in for Ryan Stevens today, and I am joined, as always, by Tino and Phil. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening? How was last weekend for you?
I'm going to let Tino take the floor
Let
at this
Tino
one.
have this one. Yeah.
Oh man, well, let's see the comments come in here. Team 54, good to see you. Good to see you come on in. Marcus, of course. Brian. A lot of people last week had a lot of things to say. And so I'm going to address that in multiple portions of tonight's episode. First up, let's just talk about North Wilkesboro. I do believe this is one of the greatest short tracks ever created. To see this run at a non-all-star race, like an actual points-paying race on a Sunday night, to me, I loved watching this race. Obviously, Joey Logano did what he had to do, but the racing itself at that track, I thought was awesome because we got to see a lot of different ways guys can make speed. It wasn't just Martinsville, Bristol, and Bristol's my favorite short track, but my favorite short track racing is what we saw at North Wilkesboro Speedway, because seeing guys get lapped up until the first, it was like up inside the top 10. We're getting lap cars. We're getting lap traffic. We're battling through the lead for the lead, trying to get past these other cars. To me, that's exciting. That's what matters most. You have a mistake on pit road. Sorry, Ryan Blaney. You're going all the way to the back. You're getting lapped. Like, to me, that is stuff that is awesome to see at short tracks. Obviously, we get it sometimes at these other ones, but you don't always see the different lines. It was so wide. You can run high. Like, you can run up against the wall almost, use different grooves, go 3 wide, go 4 wide at times at a short track. To me, that's badass. North Wilkesboro is a badass short track that deserves to be on a night race every year. I don't want to talk about this anymore, in the schedule, out of the schedule. I thought it put on perfect NASCAR short track racing for that specific purpose of finding different lines and speed. And then Joey Logano, I mean, that's just a badass NASCAR driver. We joke about him, and you guys say these things in the chat and come at me for picking him for the bonus pick, and he goes out there and dominates like that. I mean, that's insane to see him do that and win that race in the way that he has after not having speed the entire season. It felt like you got to tip your cap. To me, I know a lot of people could say what they want about him, but that's a badass NASCAR track with a badass NASCAR driver, 3-time champion. He already has my respect. He earned it a lot more seeing him come out and do a performance like that on Sunday night. And sure, maybe he's a little goofy, but for him to dominate in the way that he is doing just then last week, I hope maybe you respect that, because he reminds me of me. And I picked him, so I hope you respect me the way you respect him and how he put on a great performance.
We got to show what Brian has to say. 36 Atlantis for we riot. Good Lord, man. Just no. I can't. I can't get there. Phil, I'll let you have some thoughts, and then I'll offer my kind of summary thoughts on it, having talked to Ryan.
I mean, I'll first of all, we got to give Tino his flowers. Big win last week on the draft. Took a shot, it hit, and there's no better feeling. So, I'll let him roll with these comments here to start the show. I had a great betting week. Honestly, from the podcast that I put out, it was probably the best week of the year. Actually, was on Logano 12-1, among other things, SVG. So I was happy. I'm trying not to let that shift my angle on how I feel about the race. I think the way I summed it up was, as long as the expectations are clear going into this race, and we only get one of these types of races a year where, the entertainment factor is staying on the lead lap. There's going to be single digit cars on the lead lap at the end of the race, potentially. As long as your expectations are set correctly, then that's a track that I'd be fine with them going back to, and that type of racing once a year. And I like it under the lights. I like Sunday night, Saturday night night races are definitely appealing to me. So for that, I'll say, yeah, I would go back and give it another shot. But I also am not blind to the other side of the argument, like Brian's making in the comments, merry-go-round racing, laps down and the 48 screwing up everybody's race. Again, as long as we're understanding like that's the kind of shit that can happen here, good. I'm fine with it, but I'm not anticipating being something it's not. So that's the feelings that I had moving on.
I don't want to hold us up, but I do have a question, like genuinely, because that wasn't me like being dramatic. I actually really like how you can go wide at a short track and have these different lines and create different forms of speed. You're not seeing that in Martinsville. Like, to me, I don't get this negativity about it, and I want to understand. So explain to me like the merry-go-round part.
75% of the race led by one driver, no one able to like actually pass him. They were making the point like the leader or the second place car was like getting to him, but like so he wasn't running away with it like an SVG road course race. But he's not able to pass. So like you can have the whole length of the track and you can run all over the place, but you can't actually pass for the lead. Like I think that's the
I would put emphasis on for the lead. Just
for the lead. No, that's 100%. 100%.
Okay.
Okay. No, I think that's right. I mean, kind of the way I look at it is I think I'm kind of more towards, what you're saying, Phil. It was fine, right? I mean, we know what that is. We know that right now, even as much as we're making advances in the short track package, we know the short track racing is not great in this car, right? Like it is what it is, right? And I think particularly here where I think the tire wear was underrated. I mean, people are talking about, you only had, 0.2, 0.3 fall off after 30 laps. Okay. But counterpoint at a 1.5 mile, that's saying that you've got 0.6 after 10 laps, right? I mean, so it's not that there was no fall off, right? I mean, there was fall off, but it wasn't huge. And I think that's a big problem with this track right now, right? Is that there's not enough tire wear. And we have to recognize that tire wear really improves the races, right? Because it makes drivers manage it. It helps us have comers and goers. It helps us with, more strategy. I mean, candidly, I hate when 2 tire stops are an option, right? If a 2 tire stop's an option, like, you're just going to jump and then you can hold. Now, we saw that it worked for some and not for others, right? I mean, like, McDowell tried to, hey, I'm going to cut myself on tires and, see if I can stay up there. He couldn't. SVG, on the other hand, did the same thing and held and, and stayed there. So I think, again, we have to recognize the track for what it is. It's not going to be anything great until we do more on this car. And I don't know what else there is to do, right? I mean, they've effectively stripped everything that they can down off of it, and they've added the horsepower. I mean, is another 100 horsepower going to change the situation? I don't know. I mean, depends on who you talk to if they can even do that. So we got to understand. I think it was a fine race. I did very well. And the one thing I will say is Logano was legitimately faster than everybody else. It wasn't even just that, you could get to him but not pass him. You couldn't get to him. I mean, we watched at the end of the race, we watched Riley Herbst block the absolute shit out of him, right? For 5-6 laps. I mean, he was being obnoxious to the point where if Joey had punted him, I don't think anybody would have said anything's wrong. The guy was multiple laps down, and he was very, very clearly just trying to be a roadblock for his team owner, which flip side, I have no problem with him doing that, right? Like, I have no problem helping out your manufacturer, I mean, not a direct teammate, but I have no problem doing that, right? But I also understand what I'm sure Joey was thinking was like, dude, get the hell out of the way. You're not a factor in this race. I know the only thing you are doing is trying to slow me down so Denny Hamlin can get to me. Denny Hamlin couldn't get to him. It's not that he got there and then he couldn't do it. He had the biggest roadblock in the world for multiple laps and could not get there. And that was not because of dirty air. He was far enough back that he wasn't fighting dirty air. He simply did not have the speed. So I got to give credit to Joey Logano on that. He absolutely had the best car. I don't think it was particularly close. And so, you're saying you couldn't get there and pass him? You couldn't get there, period. Like, it wasn't that you got there and you couldn't pass him. You just couldn't get there. So is what it is. But I do understand people's thoughts about it. It was not the most exciting thing. The one last thing I'll say about this is everybody keeps saying, oh, we want racing like the 90s and 2000s, and then you get racing like the 90s and 2000s. Like, oh, no, not like that. Well, look,
Yeah.
I'm 42 years old. I've seen a lot of racing in my time, and I'm going to tell you, there was certainly an element of that felt very old school. Now, I don't remember this track as a points race. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, I'm not saying that I remember, oh, like this is exactly what old races here were like. But I will say, I remember old races where you only had, 5-10 cars on the lead lap, and people thought it was the greatest thing ever because you had superstars who dominated. Now, again, that wasn't necessarily what got us here, but that had a very, a certain old school race, and everyone's like, oh no, I don't want to like that. Well, tell me what you do want then, right? I mean, so with that said, we will move on from all of our little rants about this and take a moment to look at what happened last week. Points wise, we already talked about it. Tino, well, he
I dominated. That's a domination.
He put everyone to shame. That's all there is to it.
That's a Joey Logano win by Tino Patino.
He whooped everybody.
Yeah.
Now, maybe we can say that some of that was because he got a major assist there from the 48 car, taking out some folks. But hey, it worked out for him. So kudos on that. Well-deserved win for Tino. Puts him into a tie with Ryan. And then, we've got another guy who plays along with us too, who's a little bit back on that. But he's only 1.5 back. Great opportunity to get into it this week. So with that said, Tino, unless you want to, dunk on us all a little bit more, we'll take it. We'll move on to starting this week.
No more dunking. Not yet. I'll find another time I could dunk on you guys, but appreciate everyone who doubted me, and I'm looking forward to proving you wrong once again this week.
All right. With that said, Tino, I will let you lead us off as the winner for this week. For the draft, who are we going with on 2311?
Okay, so this one, to me, I like that there could be options. We look at these two drivers, they're both sitting at the top in terms of average running position at Indianapolis. So the one I'm going to choose is Tyler Reddick this weekend. Bubba, honestly, is, I feel like, the safer pick. You're not expecting him to do anything super crazy. He knows how to play the strategy game because that's how he won this race last year. And for Tyler, it's kind of been boom or bust for him, which we saw last week, continuously finding issues. It's like the exact opposite of his first half of the season. I'm hoping he can turn that around here with the long run speed that they're going to have and how fast the Toyotas have obviously been on raw speed at these types of racetracks.
Yeah, I mean, we get it, and I'll take it, and I'm going to go the other direction on this one, and I'm going to take Bubba Wallace. Now, counterpoint for anyone who watched what I posted, 2 hours ago, I took Tyler Reddick to win the race at plus 800 over at 365. So you might get an inkling on where I'm going to go with somewhere else, but across the board, 2311's got great speed here. They definitely have shown some power. Reddick has, as you said, had a terrible run the past 9 weeks since he had his high point in the standings, well clear, almost 2 full races up, and now of course he is trailing by a full race. So this is his last great shot. We've talked about it some in the Win the Race Discord about, you know, who's going to be the number one seed for the chase. It's basically Denny Hamlin locked up. We've got like a 3% chance for Reddick and like a 2% chance for Blaney. But if Reddick doesn't win this week, that's basically the end of it. He's got to win this week to have a chance. So you look at it that way. But as you said, Bubba's the reigning champ here, right? 2311 has a lot of speed. So a couple of ways on that. And I've now taken way more time than I needed there. Go Heim. Well, that's a whole nother thing. So Phil, let you wrap us up here.
I would love to go Corey Heim. Maybe finds the betting card after Friday just to see what he has, but I'm 1.5 back. I would love to go into the off week just right there with these guys. So it's too much of a risk for me. And I am going to go Tyler Reddick. You know, for a lot of the reasons that you guys said, you know, won't harp on it. He's definitely should be one of the strongest cars win the race. Sims have him second on the board, which is important to me. Average starting position in 2 races at Indy, 2.5. It's amazing. And, you know, he ran a great race in 2024, finished second, ran a great race last year, average running position of like 8, had a bad finish, but, you know, still in this game, score some stage points, you know, doesn't necessarily hurt you as bad. So we're going to have Reddick up top there.
All righty. I mean, as we said, I don't know that there's really necessarily a wrong pick that you can have on this guy. I mean, I think they're going to definitely be 2 strong cars there. So with that said, I will go ahead and I will take, what in the world did I do here? Sorry, folks, oh, it's because Ryan has us out of order here. Ryan, man, you misordered our card and our picks up top because it's telling me that we're on Front Row Motorsports, but of course the card is telling me that we're Penske.
There's a reason. It's because we started doing random order, so it's a surprise each time now. So that's why the logos are out of whack.
Well, I thought he'd ordered it for me, but he had. But he had I'm telling you, as I told you guys ahead of time, we had ourselves an afternoon. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll grab Front Row. We'll grab a hold on it and run with it, and I'll take the first one on that. So Front Row for me, this is kind of it's so hard to figure here because all these guys are just. I feel like they're just kind of mudding around. They're nobody's had the greatest thing. That said, I think just because he's going to be battling for, some money here, I'm going to take Todd Gilliland. I think you kind of have to, at least in my opinion, dude has the most to race for here. So Toddy G going to be my pick. And then I will hand it off to you, Phil.
Yeah, he's got a good chance of being the Gillionaire this weekend.
That's sick.
Back-to-back 6th place finishes at Indianapolis. And, you know, this is a racetrack where that team's actually like snuck into good finishes. This is not a fluky situation. I think, you know, if something screws up with Blaney with strategy, this is a racetrack where strategy comes into play. They've clearly been on the right side of it and been good enough to be there, get a 6th place finish. They're 1-1 versus Blaney in the 2 races here. So, and you guys made a good point last week, right? I took Zane and you guys both took Todd with the point to say like Front Row is going to put everything they got into Gilliland, and it showed. Like that was a factor. He was a top 10 car, even like really before all the chaos, and the other 2 had nothing. So I'm absolutely assuming the same will take place here. So definitely Gilliland for me. I gotta shut my camera off for 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, Tino.
I will be hammering down with the Todd father here. Love Go Fast Troy saying top 10 plus 800 for Todd Gilliland, where he has 2 6th place finishes in a row and needs to win $1 million. I mean, whoa. I mean, I'm getting fired up because this is a play that I love. Appreciate you shouting it out. And that's awesome. Like, this is a moment to where, hey, Todd Gilliland is good at this racetrack. Like, I was a little bit surprised when they said on the broadcast last week, I was not expecting this place to be as good as it is for him, but not only that, it's his best. Just when you look at his career as a whole, this is the best average finish right now. Now, yeah, two top 10s like that, maybe there's a factor to it. Oh, we got a pup, we got the dog. Oh my God, that's awesome. Let's go. But yeah, Todd Gillen for me as well. So I think that's where I got to go, and I think he could do it. Like, I think he can beat Ryan Blaney based off of the speed that he's had at this racetrack. And we've seen the Ford struggle sometimes on, the long super speedways.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. So I think we all understand where we're at there and why. So moving ourselves right along to HMS. Phil, do you want to lead us off here? See where we're going with these guys?
Yeah, so I'll go first. And sorry about that. The dog was going nuts upstairs.
There's no need to apologize for puppers.
Yeah, I'm going Kyle Larson here, and I have Kyle top 5 this week. I just think he's the best of the bunch. You're looking at the other guys, Elliott. You could probably make a case, maybe. Byron is so hit or miss, but whether you're looking at last year's stats or you're looking at this year's stats, Larson has what you need. The thing that Larson needs is just a little bit of damn luck, because he's had fast cars and had like freak incidents like last week. So it's just, I don't know, keep it clean and this car should be good. And he's got back-to-back top 2 finishes at this racetrack. That's important. He's shown signs of getting back into it. So if he can just avoid some of this stuff, he's got in the 6 comp tracks that when the race calls out on the track comparison tool, he's got 4 top 5 finishes out of those 6 races that we've seen so far this year. 10th in average finish, because he's had some rough finishes at Chicagoland and Texas, but he's 3rd in driver rating, 5th in average running position. So, you combine the fact that this year he's been very strong. He's been top 5, type of car. And at this particular track, since they've been back in the next gen car, he's been either first or second. So for me, Kyle Larson's got to be the move from the Hendrick camp.
No, it makes a lot of sense, obviously. Tino, are you following Phil here, or are you going a different direction?
Well, I put a lot of thought into this one because I do feel like, as much as it, like what my mind is telling me is go with Chase Elliott, go with William Byron. Those are the drivers that have not only had, I wouldn't say more, like Byron has had more speed than Larson this year, but he's just been able to get a little bit better in the most recent weeks. Could that be leading up to a track that he also is really good at? Here, to me, I can't do it. I think it has to be Kyle Larson. So I just have to lock in here and follow Phil, yes, but most importantly, I think I don't want to miss out on a potential Larson win that could come here. I think those other drivers I mentioned that are part of his team, I don't think they have what it takes to beat the Toyotas up front in this type of race.
Yeah, I mean, in our sims, we have Larson as the the 3rd guy, but there's a a drop between the top and Denny and Reddick to him. That said, I'm actually going to go with Chase Elliott, and I agree with everything you guys are saying. Larson, I think, is perhaps has a higher upside. But I will say this for Elliott. He has been so incredibly consistent this year. He does Larson, and Larson for his entire career. He will make a mistake on occasion. He's a riskier guy. He has more upside because he takes bigger risks. Elliott just doesn't do that. He is a more consistent guy. And so I think when we look at it in terms of just, what's the safer play, I hate to say that I'm just kind of laying it up and playing safe, but I think Elliott's a safer play. I think Larson, is more likely to win this race. I think he certainly has more for the Toyotas than Elliott does. But Larson's also more likely to put it into turn 1 on lap 1, trying to put it in there at 100 80 miles an hour and forgetting to hit the brakes and just putting it into the wall. So I'm going to take Chase Elliott just with the assumption that he's going to be the safer bet and more consistent. I think he's more likely to find himself in the top 5 at the end of the day. Larson's more likely to win, but I think on the whole, we'll see Elliott in the top 5 more often than we see Larson in the top 5. Larson's kind of that boom or bust guy. So with that said, I'll take our next one on Joe Gibbs Racing too, because I kind of suspect this will be a boring little run for us here. If you're not picking Denny Hamlin, what are you doing? Denny Hamlin has, been on an epic run the past couple of months. We saw him absolutely dominate at Pocono. We've seen him cruise very strongly, although it's a different package, obviously. Cruise very strongly at Nashville. We saw him just across the road. He's just been the guy in the Cup Series over the past 9 weeks. 9 weeks ago, he was 120 points behind Tyler Reddick for the points lead. And now he's got over 60 points on Reddick. And yes, a lot of that has been Reddick having, some really tough things, was obviously about to be second at San Diego before the tire went. But man, Denny has just dominated everything. And he's been good at places that you wouldn't normally expect it. He was good at San Diego. He was not as good at Sonoma, although Sonoma, if you were going to pick one of the two, you would have thought he'd be better at Sonoma than San Diego. But he's just been good at every single track. He is the most consistent guy in the series right now. And it's not just consistency, it's domination. So it's got to be Denny Hamlin. And so with that, Tino, do you dare go against Mr. Hamlin?
Well, did it last week and it worked, so I'll say that. But Team 54 saying Denny Schmenny. To me, I will also be taking Denny Hamlin in this one. The one thing that I will say as to why, he's going for the Grand Slam. This is the final crown jewel race that if he wins, he'll have them all. So I think that's very important to him as his career comes to a close. Sure, maybe more years left, but ultimately, how many more chances we'll see. So I think he's got a good shot at this one.
Yeah, I'm also going Denny. For all the reasons you guys said, I will give Zach a little bit of a taste here. I do like Gibbs this week for a top 10. Thought about putting him in my Gibbs spot, but I just can't. I have my play for bonus already cooked out here, and I need to take Denny. Can't miss out on Denny's points. He's going to be definitely a threat to win this race. But Gibbs, a top 10 play. I think you mentioned he's a top 5 machine in the comps this year. He doesn't have any top 5s, but he's got 4 top 10s out of 6 races. So don't overlook Gibbs. We'll give Zach some flowers. Don't overlook him. That race last year, he was kind of playing it safe because of the in-season challenge. That finish probably wasn't what it should have been. But for that, I'm going to go with Denny. He just dominates all the metrics for this season. Last season, it's comp tracks, non-comp tracks. It's just he's on another level right now. So I can't not have him.
Fair enough. Certainly makes sense here. All right. I'll lead us off on Penske again. This is a bizarre one to me because I don't know what to make of Penske in the 670 horsepower package. They've not been bad. I think a lot of people look at them and say, oh, they've been bad in the 670. They haven't been bad, but they have not been good. Blaney's not had race winning pace at any of the 670 races. Logano has been bad, and Cindric has been somewhere in the middle. So, I think people think they've been worse than they are. If you go and you look at Ryan Blaney, he's had some pretty decent finishes, but of course was never really a threat for the win. That said, I think of the 3, he's the guy this week. I think when we look at the next couple of races, we're going to see Logano be a whole lot of more factor in the next, 3 race short course series that we have after the break. But I think right now it's Ryan Blaney at this track type. Blaney also does seem to be kind of picking up some of the mess that had the start of the year where he was a little bit less consistent. So I think he's got a good chance, and I think he's just the best of them this week. So with that, Phil, any thoughts on where you're going with the Penske boys?
For me, it's Blaney, no doubt. I know Logano had a great week last week, but when you're looking at this particular style of track, Blaney, it's not even close. We look at the two races we've seen at Indy so far. He's got a third and a seventh. Logano, I can't. I'm sorry to Austin Cindric. I just can't look his way. And Logano has not had good finishes at this track. 31st and 33rd or something like that, or 32nd and 34th, something. In basically horrible. So then you look at this season and the 6 comp tracks that we've been to already, and if you throw all 3 of them together, right? Who was the winning driver of all 3 of them for their camp? It's Blaney 4 times out of the 6 races. So, and that includes Pocono, which is basically a direct comp, 99% match, one win the race. So that is where I'm going. I'm not trying to get too cute with it, but I'm anxious to see. Tino and I are dead on even right now with our picks. So you're going to go back to your boy, the guy that you said you're just like to start the show. You're going to go with Logano.
Well, after such an awesome victory last week and seeing what Joey Logano was able to do for me, it made it clear who my choice is going to be this week. And that's Austin Cindric.
No
pause for dramatic. You know it is. And here's why.
Okay.
Last year, I watched last year's race back, okay? The driver leading the race, he led 40 laps, and he was leading during the whole strategy fiasco. And like, this is the strategy track. We know that. He was leading at the time during when strategy was playing out, and he got a flat tire. Now, if that didn't happen, the driver that then overtook him to take the lead and ultimately lead stage 2 and stage 3 was Bubba Wallace in second place at that time. If Austin Cindric does not get a flat tire, I'm not saying he wins the race, but I'm saying I think that's a top 5 finish. I looked back at his other Indianapolis. Okay, this is a good comment. Tino's ego has finally reached critical mass. Hey, we'll see.
Careful, Zach. You're getting up on a video.
Yeah, here we go again. Like, I'll take it again. Keep the comments coming. To me, I do think, and let me keep narrowing it down. I'm not saying Blaney is the pick here. We know that. But one of these drivers on our boards is going to be impacted by strategy, because this is the type of race that is. You're going to take me to the track that Roger Penske owns at Penske's 60-year anniversary and have Ryan Blaney win and then Joey Logano and not have me think Austin Cindric could be next right then this weekend. If anything, I think he gets a strong top 15 finish, and I'm okay with that if Blaney's, inside the top 10 as well. I don't think it'll be that much of a point differential.
Interesting.
All righty. Bold move from Tino there. I got to give you props on that one. That's a bold choice. Certainly bigger stones than I've got on that one.
Makes me wonder what you got cooking for your bonus. I'm excited to see your bonus pick.
This is another one. Zach, you got a bunch of great comments. If Cindric wins, I'll change my picture on Twitter to Tino's face for a week. And this is what the picture of my face is going to be. All right. Got the screenshot. Good. So we'll revisit that just like we did last week with some things. And what am I smoking? Good vibes.
All right. Well, let's look at the other Ford camp that is most likely to have a shot at the Penske boys, setting aside the fact that we all like Todd Gilliland to, maybe make a run at Blaney. Tino, who you got with RFK?
This one's interesting. I do think that they all have a good shot. Honestly, seeing Brad's speed last week was encouraging to me. Obviously, different track type, but we look at the results here last year. 4th, Ryan Preece, 5th, Brad Keselowski, and then Buescher was all the way down there at 14th. I am going to go Buescher, though. Brad hasn't done enough for me to switch up and pick him this year yet. I don't know if that time will ever come either. Preece would be the only thought I would have, because I think he's actually run very well at these types of tracks, and just been a guy that's hung around and been inside the top 10. But for me, I'm going to go Buescher just because I feel like it's a safer play here.
Yeah, certainly understandable there. Phil, you have a different thought here, or going the same way?
No, same way for me. Yeah, Buescher, he's won 4 of the 6 races of this camp. Brad's won the other 2. Priest hasn't beaten these guys on this style of track all year. I was looking to play against Brad in a couple like head-to-heads, just because his value, like he's going up against Hocevar plus 135. I like looked at that pretty hard, and I still couldn't come home on that. That's how much I just am scared of Brad. So yeah, Buescher, he rings true. Going back to the start of last year, he's 4th in 13 comp tracks in average finish, 5th in driver rating, 3rd in average running position, and then you fast forward to this season where I'm so hot and cold on Buescher this year. But this track type, he's 7th in average finish, 7th in driver rating, and 4th in average running position. So, yeah, it's got to be Buescher for me here. He just checks all the boxes when you're comparing him to his teammates. I don't particularly think that he's going to like shock anyone and do anything crazy in the actual race. But against these 2 guys, I had Buescher.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it a clean sweep on this one. Buescher, it's funny. I was talking to, some folks earlier today about, do I put him in the dead to me camp, or maybe all the way to prison, right? Because he has absolutely killed me a couple of times on particularly some top Ford bets that, he just would have weird things happen. He's like, oh, he's clearly the best car, then has like a bad pit stop, and like just falls apart, right? And so, I do worry about that. I do think there's a potential for that. But across the board, yeah, he's the consistent guy. He's the one I think has the most speed. You know, could Priest pop up and do a little something? Yeah, he could. The other thing is, I saw on Reddit people talking about, which drivers have we seen have their last win? And Brad Keselowski's name kept coming up as maybe we've seen him have his last win, right? Maybe we don't see Brad in victory lane again. And it's hard to argue against that. I guess the argument against it is he still puts himself in position enough that like he could, kind of fall into it if he gets a little bit of luck. But yeah, I mean, if we look at where the speed at RFK is, the speed is consistently in that 17 car. It is not with Brad. And so, yeah, we may have very well seen Brad win his last race. I hope we've not. I want to see him win again, but I can't go against Buescher on that.
I will just 2 quick bullet points on that. One, to argue against the fact that we haven't seen it. He hasn't really talked, unless I'm missing it, too much about retirement like Denny, Denny has, right? So there's no real indication that he's hanging it up anytime soon. 2, I am giving a lot of leeway to the fact that the business side of his world right now is so swirly with not having a charter next year, trying to figure out if they're going to run 3 cars. He's even mentioned trying to get a 4th car lined up, with a bunch of various drivers on open car. So I think this season is just so wonky for him from a business standpoint. He's really feeling it, probably, more than ever. So I'm giving him a little bit of leash. So next year after, once they figure this stuff out, I would like to think that he's going to be more focused on the actual car.
And that would be great to see. I'd love to see it. No, I love to see it. I think, and we'll see. Obviously. All right, so now we're gonna move on to our friends over at Spire. This one was actually a little bit interesting for me, because when I start looking at some of the data, I'm gonna toss kind of McDowell to the side. I'm not going there, but man, we keep seeing at kind of random spots that we wouldn't have historically expected it, Suarez popping up and doing good stuff. And so I thought, do I go there? Do I think about it? And then the answer, of course, for me ends up being no, because much as everyone in the Win the Race Discord knows, I'm not a Carson Hocevar guy. I do not like him, but I think he is fantastic for the sport. I can't stand the guy, but man, is he good for the sport. And he is aggressive. and he's bringing fast cars. Like Spire is giving him fast cars week in, week out. I mean, again, they're giving them to, to Suarez as well. Suarez is not as flashy with it. But man, I'm going to take Hocevar. I think this is a stage where the guy could show up, flash, and continue to try and make himself the young star of the sport. The people who don't like him, like myself, our dislike for him is very different than our dislike for sorry, Team 54, for Mr. Gibbs, right? Nobody, I don't think any of us are looking at Hocevar as been having handed the silver spoon, right? We look at him as kind of an idiot who makes bad moves, who makes reckless moves, who perhaps doesn't have the racecraft right now. But you can't argue that the guy is a freaking rocket in the car. And so I got to take him. And so with that, I will turn it over to Phil to, maybe talk a little bit less crap about the guy that he's picking.
No, I mean, I'm big Hocevar guy. Just like cheering for him week to week. But I'm going to go with Suarez here in this matchup. And, we'll see if Tina, I'm trying to separate myself. I've done that already with you, Greg, on the board here. I'm trying to see if I can separate myself a little bit more with Tino. But Suarez, want to go deeper on it. Looking at Hocevar, he's got like an 11th place and a 12th place finish, both, running for Spire, and the runs were okay. And average running position was around 10th. He kind of ran and finished where he should have. Suarez at Trackhouse a year ago finished 8th in that race. And he was with Trackhouse, who had already cut him at that point. Whether it was public or not, I don't know. But behind the scenes, he was already cut. Finished 8th. His average running position was 21st. Driver rating was 59, and was a benefactor of a strategy play. But that's just like that's Suarez. Like, even in a shitbox car that they were totally pushing him out of the company with, he somehow has the mental fortitude to be like, no, we're gonna finish 8th here. And look, I didn't go back and rewatch that race, but that's amazing. So then you fast forward to this season, and this track type, these 6 comp tracks, he's 3rd in average finish. What is it? 9.8. 9.8 in average finish this season. 9th in average running position. Both of those metrics are better than Hocevar. Hocevar is not even in the top 10 for average finish for this season. He's beaten Hocevar 4 out of the 6 times on these comps. So, we have to kind of rely on, at least I really like to rely on those numbers. And I like Hocevar. I think he's good, but I just feel like this is a situation where he will run average, and it's going to be like, wow, where did Suarez come from? Well, Suarez was here the whole time. He was ready. So Suarez is my pick.
No, makes sense.
I think it's sharp. Yeah, no, I like it. I like those numbers. I respect Phil's play, and that's why I'm going Carson Hocevar, or part of the reason, just to be different, have those 2 different guys. I do think that Hocevar, I was on him last week. I was worried. I was like, I did pick him, but I was like, oh, he's probably going to do a late block, get in trouble, whatever. And he didn't. He raced well. Like, it was, kept it clean. And that's what you need here to have a good day. And the other thing that I want to mention quickly, although it could be a whole show conversation, T54 saying Spire's been faster. Interesting. I really didn't think that it would impact, like the whole setups, stuff like that would impact Spire as much as it has, but it definitely has. When you look at North Wilkesboro and see Spire beating all of Hendrick and running right next to the Toyotas and JGR, there's no coincidence anymore. Like, it's so consistently them being this first best Chevy right behind JGR. It's just wild to me to see it happening. So that's all I'll say about that, but it's crazy that, like, it's a real thing.
I'll give a quick push on that for a different reason. Obviously the implication there being, that some data may have may have left Joe Gibbs and ended up at Spire, or at least the mind behind some of that. We had some conversation about this earlier in the Discord, and I'm going to push back and I'm saying I just think Spire is putting more money into this. I can't point exactly where that has, where it is, or show you like any facts behind it. But I think there's more money behind that team than there has. I mean, clearly they have decided that they have a star in Hocevar. um, I don't think they expected necessarily to have Suarez beyond this year. But I think they're seeing that they may have to make decisions about, what they're going to do, because the guy is showing up and going hard. And so I just leave it, kind of at that. I think Spire has really made a decision this year, a concerted effort. Hey, we are going to drop money into this. We are going to spend on it. And some of that's buying some talent, right? It's like, hey, we got to go find competition guys behind the scenes, not just the drivers, to help us do that. And they've done that. And so, but I don't think it's limited to one guy, is my real point. I think Spire has just on the whole decided, hey, we're going to be that. We see it down in the truck series that they've decided that, hey, we are going to, we're going to put on world-class teams down here. And yeah, Big Ross, yeah, they are very, very rich. I don't know that they're necessarily so focused on Spire as much as they are on some of their other assets, looking at the Dodgers. But yeah, we have to look at that. I mean, so I think there's been a whole lot of money going into that organization. And so, we'll leave it at that. So turning to that, I'm going to pick up with the guys that Daniel Suarez left last year, that being Trackhouse, because we're down to them. I'm going to go with Shane Van Gisbergen. And I think, first off, we're going to toss out the 88 because something will happen to him, right? I mean, like, we just have to assume that something will happen to him at this point. Something will happen to that car. He might be running in first, and then a bird will fly into his radiator and destroy the car, right? Like, that's how that team season has gone. Looking at the comparison between, SVG and Ross, I mean, Ross is obviously the more experienced and typically better oval guy, but we are seeing a consistent improvement in SVG on the ovals. We're seeing a consistent trend up. Now, he does bounce around some, so we've seen a spot where he'll have a good race and then he'll come back down, but he's never coming back. He's never coming as far down as he was before. I tracked it out earlier this year, just looking at finishing, not just finishing position, but finishing position, speed, average running position, all the metrics that we look at when we're trying to predict this. And he has been on a very clear and noticeable upward trend the entire way. I think he's also more likely to just be getting all of the effort right now. He's the only one of those cars that has any chance of making it into the chase. I think he's actually sitting pretty well to make it into the chase. I've got him as effectively a lock into the chase at this point, particularly after last week. He was very solid going into this week, but now there. So I think all the money, all the effort's going into that car, and so I think SVG is going to be the guy. And so make sure I spell his name right and hand it off to Tino.
Well, I will be taking SVG as well. If anything but the fact that he's been the best car out of this team the whole season. Last week, bet him for the top Chevy. It was 20-1, and he delivered in a major way. Like, I remember texting the guys like, "Oh, this shouldn't hit, but it might," and it did. And it deservedly did. He was racing up there, getting the lead, doing these things on ovals now where it's just really cool to see. So for him to earn the lead like he did and actually lead laps and almost win a stage by performance and by actual merit is awesome. And Zach saying it's Ross week, maybe it could be. But I watched the race back from last year and Ross crashed out. So can't be doing that this year. Maybe he gets a better result, but either way, I'll go with the guy that did me very well last week in SVG.
Phil?
Well, I, also was somebody who made some money off of SVG last week. We all were riding with SVG last
I think we
week.
all did. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Good.
So that's great. And I'll shake SVG's hand and I'll say, there's the door, because we're going back to Ross this week for good reasons. Let me just start by saying I'm sold on SVG, right? I've been someone who's been
Nice.
kind of a critic. I'm sold. I think he deserves a spot in the Cup Series, and I think he's fun to watch. He's fun on the radio. He was making jokes on the radio when he was out front last week. Like, that's cool. He's a good guy to have in the Cup Series. I'm glad he's here. This is an awesome race to not bet on him and just see how he does, because he has not done well this season on this style track. So, he's going to have a good qualifying starting position. Can he do something with it? I was hearing people talk about when he's gifted good qualifying spots, that's when he gets his best non-road course results. When he actually has to go qualify himself, he doesn't put it together. So if he improves qualifying, he's going to be a better race car driver. Let's see what he can do. Like, I'm honestly very interested in see. I'm taking Ross for the simple reason that even this season, where Ross has been dog shit, he's beaten SVG 4 out of the 6 times. SVG has beaten him on the 2 tracks from the comp group that I care least about, Texas and Charlotte. Chastain beat him at Kansas, beat him at Michigan, beat him at Pocono, beat him at Chicagoland. And you're seeing finishes from Ross 8th, 18th, 16th, like inside the top 26. I know the bar is pretty low, but like, you look at some of the finishes from SVG and you're getting 36th, 30th, 31st, 25th. Like, those are not what I'm looking for here. So I think, big track opportunity for Ross to just kind of have a mediocre day. And my expectation is that SVG will be 25th or worse. We'll see.
All righty. Pino, start taking us home.
Bonus pick time. So I got a lot of things to say here, but I think I need to address some things from last week still. So let's roll the tape. Joey Logano wins. Normally I'd be on here screaming and yelling and going all crazy, but remember when I said this? This is the time. This is the place for Joey Logano to go out and get a win. I'm not talking about anyone else anymore. Look, we got him right here in the gold. I'll take him over the Toyotas. Because when you put a driver like him out in front and he needs it more than anyone else, he's already very hard to pass, get the lead, and never look back. I don't know who's going to pass Logano. And you guys said this, and 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 I said that. Logano at plus 1,000 sees this as his opportunity to get into the chase with a win. I think this is a track that he'll capitalize on, and at plus 1,000, I like those odds.
My favorite plays of the week. This is his moment to win the race and put himself into the chase for now. And at plus 1,200, not only do I like the value, but we can also get him at plus 160 for a top 5 finish.
And that
Denny Hamlin is definitely in my bonus pick.
I'm Denny Hamlin, obviously my bonus pick. There's no drama needed here.
But man, Tino, that's a double down like we have not seen in a while. Potential for a really good clip here if he goes out and gets it done.
What a battle that was when he got out of the car to me. He said, man, Joey was so good tonight.
It's short track racing.
All right. I figured I crunched the numbers. I said I'm gonna use my bonus slot time to just do that and respond to all the comments from last week. My bonus pick is going to be Chase Briscoe. He's going back to his home track, led a lot of laps here last year, and I think it's setting up for him greatly in this one. The comp tracks, I think, fit for him. I think he's got a lot of speed, and I think the long run and strategy that could come into play will ultimately pay off for him in the 19.
Wow.
Okay. Not a whole lot to argue against there. I think we're all right that I mean we've talked about Toyota a lot, and so that makes sense. I'm going to stick with a Toyota. I'm going to switch teams, and I'm going to go back to the very start where I think I kind of hinted at this way back at the start of the show, and I'm going to take Tyler Reddick here. We got him second as the, in our odds to win the race. As I said before, this is his shot at Denny. If he does not win this race, and also really needs Denny to have a not great day, he is effectively done chasing the number one seed that he held on to for so much of the season before he, just had a really, really bad slide. He's been very good here. He has a second place finish here in both the Cup Series and down in the O'Reilly Series a couple of years ago when we're still Xfinity. Obviously, his teammates, the defending champ. Do I think Bubba's going to have a great car this week? Obviously, I do. I took him up on the 2311 pick. I think he's going to be a great driver this week. I think both of those cars, I think the 23 and 45 are both going to come out with some heat. I think the 45 brings a little bit more because I do think that they are really recognizing that, hey, Reddick's not the best short track driver. He's not bad. He's gotten a whole heck of a lot better over the past couple of years. But this is his shot. This is his last real time to take a really solid swing at Denny before we get into three races that Denny will be very clearly favored over him on. And if he has any chance of catching back up before the chase starts, he's got to do it this week. So Tyler Reddick's my man.
All right. It goes to me. I mean, I feel like I'm in a weird spot because last week, Tino took Logano. I had Logano 12-1. This week's taking Briscoe. I got Briscoe 12-1. So that feels weird. But my bonus pick this week is going to be a name that's said a bunch already, and his name is Bubba Wallace. We're going back to the well from last year. This is a driver who is the defending champ, but it's more than that. It's really more than that. We can dive in a little bit deeper here, but we'll start with just the two races at Indianapolis. All right. He is second in average finish 3.0 with a first and a fifth place. He is the number one driver rating in Indianapolis and the best average running position. How do you overcome strategy plays and all that? Just be the best in average running position. Just be fast, be up front, and you can avoid, being caught by strategy and all that stuff. Obviously easier said than done. But then you say, all right, well, it's just Indy. It's just two races. Who gives a shit, Phil? Like that sample size dog shit. I don't care. We look at this season. He's fifth in average finish on these tracks this season, 11.0. I got him 15-1. Like I really think that Bubba Wallace has a chance to get it done. And, let's see. You got maybe, am I mixing them up here? I think I'm looking at Briscoe. I'm looking at Briscoe's numbers. I'm like, well, no, he's better than that. Oh no, he is better than Briscoe this season. 2 top fives, 4 top 10s. And, you can look at Reddick and you can look at Hamlin, but, much longer odds if you're looking for an outright. And he's got top 6 finishes this season at Michigan, Kansas, Chicagoland, all very good spots. He had a bad start at Pocono or bad finish at Pocono, which is a direct comp. I can concede that. But in past years, he's been horrible at Pocono and still performed really well at Indy. So this is like the one driver where I kind of give a pass to the Pocono situation. Bubba Wallace absolutely needs this. As I hit my microphone, he needs this. I know you made a case, Greg, of like Reddick kind of getting back into the swing of things and trying to maybe not hunt down Denny, but keep second place. Bubba, he's looking at this racetrack, maybe other than Daytona, where he's pretty solid. He needs this for any sort of momentum, and he knows he's good here. So I think it would not shock me whatsoever if he was in victory lane, and I would reap those points like you did last week, Tino. So Bubba Wallace is the bonus pick to round things out this week. So pretty pumped about it.
Love it.
I have no arguments.
All different bonuses too. I like that.
Yeah,
I have no arguments there. I mean, obviously, agree with everything you're saying there. He's been very solid, and I think we're in for an exciting as Indy goes in terms of this, because I don't if we see a pass for the lead, I'll be shocked. Right? It's not going to happen. This track does not lend itself to that. With this package, we are unlikely to see that. I will say an interesting thought that Ryan and I talked about earlier this week, and we bet it, is under 23 and a half, and the lines move, but under 23 and a half cars on the lead lap at the finish, because we are not likely to see cautions in chaos until the end. We've seen a whole lot of it at the end the past couple of years, with races going to overtime. But we are likely to see some, decent runs, and with the inability to pass, you're less likely to be making a weird move that's going to, cause that issue, cause that chaos. So, you can get there two ways with those cars. You can get there either with some chaos, or you get there with some not chaos. And we definitely have some, opportunities to to see some long runs where the leaders will even on this 2.5 mile behemoth have an opportunity to chase some folks down and put them down. And then if we don't get the cautions, they don't have the opportunity to get back on the lead lap, and that's all she wrote. So I think it'll be interesting. But I do ready to have an off week and then get back to what will hopefully be some more exciting racing the next couple of weeks. I am looking forward to getting to go to Richmond myself, so
Nice.
Ready to see some short track racing. Has always been on my favorite lists, but we're definitely gonna see how these turn out. So, gentlemen, do we have any final thoughts before we sign this off and say thank you to all of our viewers, because we do appreciate you guys so much. We do this for you, and we love seeing the numbers up here of folks showing in to listen to what we have to say, because as much as we would love to just sit here and talk, if there's nobody listening, that doesn't do us a whole lot of good. So we really appreciate all of y'all so much for tuning in. Tino, any last thoughts?
Well, that's it. You echoing everything you said and echoing what Keith said here. Nice job filling in for Ryan, and appreciate you doing so. And looking forward to the next race. I guess we got an off week. Just found that out a couple hours ago, so that's awesome. But appreciate everyone in the chat. Looking forward to getting some more winners here. We'll see how these guys do. And you follow me at Tino, PATTIGNO. I'll have my best bets this week and everything like that. So be sure to stay tuned. And you catch out my winning reaction video to Joey Logano I just posted before this too.
Beautiful. And I got a lot going on here right before the off week. Listen to my podcast, Bull Tank with Phil, for all the Cup Series action. I'm going to do my damnedest to, Big Ross on it, get a truck pod. Need to, recover a little bit. The key word here is Front Row Motorsports, in my opinion. So we'll get to that. I'm trying to record that tomorrow at some point, tomorrow night maybe. I'm going to be leaving this show right now and going right over to the back road with Elliot Hicks and filling in for Seth over there on the back road. So give that a look if you're still feeding for some Cup Series action. And then when we're back from Iowa, that Iowa week, I actually am not sure if I'm going to be on, because I will be at Bet Bash in Vegas, sports betting conference out there, doing a NASCAR panel. So I know Brian Twining said that he may be out there. If you're out there, please let me know. Would love to meet up and have a beer and talk shop. So thanks everybody for chiming in as always. This is always very fun. And thanks, Greg, for jumping on tonight.
Absolutely. Thank y'all. Have yourselves a fantastic evening.